In Jesus' name, I break all of the curses and grind them to powder and dust and blow them away. In Jesus' name. And what else can I say? Do I invite the Lord to join us? Of course not. This is his meeting. I couldn't do what I do without him. It would be impossible. I am his mouthpiece, as you know. So I did want to say a few words about the political situation today. I received a text this morning from a friend that was trapped in Israel when the bombing started. Her flight was canceled, and the government canceled all flights that were not government flights. So I received a text from her this morning telling me that she was flying out today. So that means things have eased up, and I wouldn't even call it a war, whatever you call what was going on in the Middle East, what is still going on in the Middle East. It's almost over. I think President Trump said it wouldn't take more than a couple of weeks. I think this is the second week we're in. So that's good news that Israel has reinstituted non-governmental flights. So I'd like to take a few minutes to explain to you, those of you that might not know, what is going on with regard to, I'm looking at the screen, there's only one person here, I'm not too happy about it, but I'm going to go forward anyway. Okay. What's going on in the Middle East? President Trump is not under the control of Netanyahu. President Trump is a brilliant man. He's going to go down in history as the greatest American president ever. And he is a morally great man, if you can hear what I'm saying. And as men go, as human beings go, okay, he's a morally great man. And I say that because I believe that everything that he's doing is for the benefit of the whole free world. You know? But what does that mean? It means he's not looking to be an emperor or to make America into an empire or to continue the ungodly American empire that already exists. He said his position. He wants nations to be sovereign. He understands that every nation should do what's best for their nation, and that all nations should negotiate and come to agreements as to how they, because all the nations are involved in trade. Trade is worldwide today. So nations should negotiate, everyone doing what's best for their government, for their nation, but to come to agreements where every nation should benefit to some degree, that there should be peace in the world based on fair trade. That is President Trump's position. That is his domestic and his international position. Let everybody do what's best for themselves in light of godly compromises that lets everybody share into the prosperity of the riches of the world, rather than a handful of people being super rich and other people not even have enough food to eat. That he's trying to correct that imbalance. And from that position, I say, as men go, he's a very moral man because of his motives. I'm not saying he's born again or anything like that, but I do believe the Lord's with him. So, coming from that position, okay, what is going on in the Middle East? Okay? Does Israel control him? No, Israel does not control him. Now, Israel controls a lot of our politicians, which creates a problem for President Trump. But with regard to this action, I don't even know that it's legitimately called a war. I would have to look up the definition of war. There's no way it's turning into World War III. It's a limited action, and the objective of the action is to destroy Iran's ability to wage war. So why are we doing that? To be honest with you, I'm disappointed in Tucker Carlson, who either is completely uninformed or he's just playing the devil's advocate and looking like he's an opponent of President Trump. But Tucker should know better, that the problem with Iran has been going on for 47 years. Iran has threatened America, called us the Great Satan. Iran supports terrorist groups. Well, this current government, this radical government in Iran, has supported terrorism all over the world. Okay, I heard President Trump the other day. I can't actually repeat what he said, but they are responsible for American deaths. They have bombed an American embassy, and I think there was an American ship that was destroyed over 47 years. And this is going on. And as President Trump said, none of the other presidents wanted to tackle the problem, but he's tackling the problem. What really is the problem? The problem, brethren, is that China has aspirations of becoming the world power that would replace America, the world power. It's not a secret. Anyone that follows global events, no, it's out there. You can find it on the internet. It's out there. China intends to become the world power and replace America. China does not intend to share world power with America. China intends to crush America. China has a 100-year plan that's public. You can find it on the internet. China has a 100-year plan. Okay? And that means in 100 years, China will be the only world power. And in order to assure its position, that 100-year plan includes the complete crushing of America and the enslaving of all of America's citizens. That's China's, now, the government in China right now is communist. This is the Chinese Communist Party. For your information, President Xing, if I'm saying his name right, that President Trump has a relationship with, is not a member of the Communist Party and opposes the Chinese Communist Party and would like to see the Chinese Communist Party in China removed and replaced with another government. I'm not sure what kind of government President Xi would want it replaced with, but he is the enemy of the Chinese Communist Party in China as President Xi. So the whole world knows, Xi, who's Chinese, knows, Americans that are involved in politics know, Russia knows, the whole world knows, okay, about China's 100-year plan, which includes the complete destruction of America. And they have already begun with irregular warfare. China is waging irregular warfare against America by being behind, to a large degree, the drugs, in particular fentanyl, I understand, being brought into this country to demoralize and destroy American people that are caught in that trap of drug addiction. China is buying up large portions of American land, which in my opinion should be illegal to sell American land to foreign nations. The problem being that our own government has sold us out. See, ever since President Clinton brought China into the World Trade Organization, I may have the wrong name, but I believe it was the World Trade Organization, by allowing China into a group of nations that have trade agreements. That was the beginning of the selling of America. That was, I think the name of the bill was NAFTA, if I'm not mistaken. That was the American bill that sent all American manufacturing jobs, all the manufacturing over to China, and so many American people lost their jobs, and made America a consumer nation. What does that mean? It means we're dependent on other nations to build and sell us things because we're not doing it for ourselves. Our own government destroyed the manufacturing industry in this country. And that is what President Trump is trying to restore, because every nation should be independent. Every nation should be independent if they can be. Every nation doesn't have all resources. America has all the resources we need to be independent. There's no reason for us to be a consumer nation, except that people our own politicians sold us out, believing that by I don't know what year the projection is, China would be the world power, and they sold out to China. Our own legislature, our own Congress. So enough of them to make it a serious problem. I'm not saying every single one of them. Excuse me. So there is an irregular war going on right now between China and the United States. China is openly moving towards the destruction of America, the complete absorption of America and the destruction of America as it now exists. Excuse me. Apparently there was a plan or a statement, a Chinese statement. But in this, I'm a lay person. I'm just giving you my understanding of what I understand. That China was anticipating war with an outright war. It's called kinetic war, where people shoot at each other, okay, with the United States in 2027. That's next year. That's next year. That was China's plan. Okay, in 2027, to be in a kinetic war with America. So what has President Trump done? Has he waited for the attack to come? No. Okay, he sought to engage in this irregular war with China. Our response to this irregular war, I mean, nobody's shooting at each other. On the surface, we're friends, just doing business. But China's buying up our land, okay? The COVID bioweapon came out of China, okay? It was an American agency in China, but it came out of China, our own government. Half of our own military, we're in a coup. Our country is under attack. But it came out of China. COVID came out of China. The social justice system that wants to enslave the people, that has already enslaved the people in China and wants to bring it here, is coming out of China. It is an irregular war that is being waged not against the U.S. military, but against the people of the United States. So President Trump, in order to, I don't even know that I want to say that, President Trump, in response to all of what I just said, has moved to weaken China, which is threatening to take over the world, which would be world communism. See, world communism was threatening the world through the, I don't know if I want to say is, through the, through NATO and through the European Union, which the European Union is communist. Okay? They're moving on their end of the world to bring globalism, which is world communism, to America. And China is moving on their end of the world to bring world communism to America and to the world. There's a global conflict going on right now, but it is an irregular war. Okay? It's a war that has never been fought like this before. It's against the civilians. It's a war of subtlety. So what just happened in the Middle East? President Trump, yes, he's working with Israel, yes. But then what time makes interesting friends? That doesn't mean President Trump is sold out to the purposes and the motives of Israel. At this moment in time, okay, Netanyahu and President Trump agreed that it was to the advantage of both of our countries to take down the military power of Iran. They're bombing military facilities. They're taking out their missiles, the ability to launch missiles, and their potential for an atomic weapon. What is the benefit of this to America? I'm going to tell you what the benefit to America is. China, in order to go forward with its goals, actually in order to accomplish its goals, needs oil, needs energy, because China cannot produce its own oil. America, we have enough oil here. Our own treasonous government shut down the production of oil in this country. They shut down the country. They shut down manufacturing. They shut down the oil. But President Trump has removed those prohibitions, and the oil companies are extracting oil in this country again. We can be self-sufficient in this country. China needs oil. Not only to wage war, they need oil for their everyday needs, for the people's everyday needs, but they definitely need oil to make war. And China was getting their oil from three sources: from Iran, from Venezuela, and from Russia. So this action in the Middle East has now cut off China's supply of oil from Iran. And not too long ago, the United States military, by the orders of President Trump, engaged in an action in Venezuela that cut off the oil supply from Venezuela to China. China is now not able to wage war against America in 2017. Now, I think I may have not gotten that exactly right. Let me try and straighten out what I might have said that's not correct. China was purchasing, you see, America has or had, I don't know, they may still be in effect, sanctions on Russia selling oil. In other words, I don't understand it completely, but on the surface, I don't agree with it, but I'm at the point where I have to say I should not be criticizing President Trump, because I don't understand the depth of what's going on. Anyone that's criticizing him, especially if you're just an average person, you're making a terrible mistake. You're looking at the surface, you have no idea what's going on. Well, why don't we know? Why doesn't the news tell us? Because the news is corrupt. The mass media is treasonous. But the information is out there. Where did I get it? I get it on the internet. It's out there if you go looking for it. See? So there have been sanctions on Russia for a long time. What does that mean? As I understand it, and I think I've got this right, America was trying to discourage Russia from selling oil to China, something like that. What I do understand is that China was getting the oil from Russia at a very discounted price because it was black market oil. For whatever reason, there were sanctions on Russia. Okay, I don't even understand it myself. Okay. But now, and I cannot explain it any better, okay, Russia is now selling oil at the regular price. So that means oil is expensive. Do you understand? China was getting oil cheap. It was black market oil. It was illegal oil somehow. I can't explain it to you. The same thing with Venezuela. Now Venezuela oil is being sold at the right price. And President Trump has kept his word. He's established he's let the people of Venezuela choose their leader. And Venezuela is a sovereign nation. The truth of the matter of Venezuela is that the oil, Venezuela is a very rich country, but they need American technology to extract the oil. They're rich because they have a raw product. They need American industry to extract the oil. And that was all messed up and out of order. President Trump has put it in order. Venezuela is prospering, and the evil that was being done there, which included bringing drugs into this country, has been straightened out. President Trump has not captured Venezuela and is not ruling in Venezuela. And neither is it his intention to do that in Iran. Okay? His intention of this action in Iran was to cut off Iran's ability to wage war and thereby stop supplying China with China's ability to wage war against America. Now, it just so happened that Iran's waging war against Israel as well as America. America and Israel had something in common, and President Trump decided at this time to do what he's doing. So there's a man that it really hurts when you find educated people that go online and give you their opinion, like Jeffrey Sachs is one of those men. Very well-spoken. I believe he's a moral man. And at one point he was talking about things that I really agreed with, and I was saying, yay, Jeffrey Sachs, yay, Jeffrey Sachs. I was so happy to hear what he was saying. But now he's against President Trump, and that is painful for me because he's a strong influencer, Jeffrey Sachs, and he's a fine man. Okay, I'm just not happy about what he's saying right now. It's not easy to be an adult in this world, brethren. See, so Jeffrey Sachs was saying, no, we have no right to enforce regime change. Well, I agree with that principle. An ungodly American government under other presidents, under President Bush and President Biden, under President Bush, we invaded Iraq and Afghanistan and attempted to implement regime change. No nation has a right to invade another nation and say, we don't like your government, we want to put another government in. Okay. So in principle, that is true. But you have to look beyond that and see that China has published their position to wage war, kinetic war against America in 2017. So what President Trump is doing is not trying to implement regime change so that he could go in and put a puppet in the government and control the country. So you have to look at motives. So I have the highest respect for Jeffrey Sachs. So I must assume that he's not aware of what I'm telling you, or he would not take that position. Because his position, if you listen to him, and he has a lot of credibility, Jeffrey Sachs, he's saying President Trump is wrong in what he's doing because President Trump's motive is to implement regime change so that we can have influence over and control that country. And that's not true. It's not true in Venezuela. And we'll see that it's not going to be true in Iran. But Iran was under the control of Chinese influences. China was the one that was controlling Iran. China was the one that was controlling the mullahs and had access to the oil of Iran and the military resources of Iran. Okay? And China was using Iran and preparing to use Iran to attack America. That's a whole other motive for wanting regime change in Iran. Does anyone know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what yeah, even if you don't believe me, do you understand what I'm talking about? See? Now, the Strait of Hormuz, which was controlled by Iran, the Strait of Hormuz is one of the major trade channels of the. But then you have to understand that the whole world operates on trade. The whole world economy operates on trade. When I think about it, what has happened to this world, how we've gone from the American frontier, where people planted and grew their own food and raised their own cattle, from when the individual person was pretty independent in this country, okay? We've gone from that to a world trade system where most people don't plant their own food. They're reliant on it coming in, being packaged and being raised and packaged and shipped across the world. People's food, our everyday needs, energy for fuel. The whole world is interconnected. So if you get someone in charge of one of the trade routes, one of the primary trade routes, and says and says you cannot come through the Strait of Hormuz. So if you want to deliver your goods, you have to go all around. It will double, triple, or quadruple your costs, and the costs would be passed on to the people. It would affect the whole world, the needs of the world, the finances of the world, the cost of oil, everybody's everyday life. If Iran were to say we're closing the Strait of Hormuz, Iran was being controlled by China. And it gets even more complicated than that. I hope I'm doing a halfway decent job of explaining this to you. For the members of LEM, I posted a video to the LEM political group that I suggest you don't miss it. And in the midst of that video, it's the video from Channel 17. In the midst of that video, the men that made that podcast played a video of a woman who was an expert on these things. And it was incredible listening to her. It was a complete enlightenment that I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to listen to her. And what she said was this, that Lloyd's of London, okay, which is an insurance, brethren, the world is complicated. If you think that President Trump is just a big bully, you are ignorant. You're ignorant. There's all kinds of things going on, the contracts and agreements and betrayals, and the world is an ugly place. It's an ugly place. The example of it that the Lord has been showing me for years is movies that I've seen of the of royal courts, like the British court or the French court, where all the people are conniving, trying to gain power and betraying each other. The Lord's been showing me that for years, preparing me for the time that this ministry gets a lot bigger. The message here is very big, but the actual business end of this ministry is small. The Lord's been preparing me for it getting bigger for a long time. Brethren, people are not good at their root. They're not. They slip. As soon as there's money to be had, people are sucking around you for favor. I had to face all this in preparation for it happening. That's the world. You think President Trump just dropped a bomb because Netanyahu wanted him to do it? You're ignorant. So there are all these different reasons. Right? Lloyd's of London, an insurance company, which is not really an insurance company as she explains it, but they're responsible for insuring the cargo ships that go through the Strait of Hormuz. Lloyd's of London is a part of the City of London. The City of London is not London, England. The City of London is a sovereign nation, just like the Vatican is a sovereign nation in the midst of Italy. The City of London, that's the home base, of bankers that have been ripping off the whole world for generations. They've got the whole world in debt slavery. However it's worked out, everybody owes them money that they can never pay off. And there's a hub of bankers, a hub of people operating out of this City of London. The Queen of England needs permission to go there. They have the whole world in there, and they're controlling the whole world through loan money. It's a little woman here, Susan, please. Lloyd's of London comes out of that. And they're responsible for ensuring the cargo ships that pass through the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz, free passage of the cargo ships in the Strait of Hormuz is essential for world trade, for business, for the people getting their needs met. It's essential that it remains open to cargo ships. And Lloyd's of London says, we won't insure you. Well, why won't they insure? Well, it's an illegal war. Like Starmer says, it's an illegal war. Like everything England has ever done has been a legal war. No, it's just a lie. It's a lie that it's an illegal war. Okay. The answer is this. What Trump is doing in Iran does not benefit the bankers. The bankers that have been on both sides of every war, including World War I and World War II. They fund war, loan money, and make a lot of money. Now, why it doesn't benefit them, I cannot explain to you, because I'm a layman just trying to give you some information that I have gleaned. I need to listen to those videos again, but I never have time to listen to them 2 and 3 times. Okay. So Lloyd's of London has said we're not going to insure those ships in an attempt to stop trade from going through the Strait of Hormuz. And President Trump has said that's okay. American insurance companies will do it. And not only will American insurance companies do it, but American warships will accompany the cargo ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz. Why do American warships have to be accompanying cargo ships? Because Iran, and I just read this morning, Iran has the ability to and has fired on the cargo ships. As a part of this irregular war, Iran is trying to stop world trade. And there are nuances there that I cannot repeat to you. I have to listen to the video again if I can find time to do it, as to why it's not in England's best interest to be on America's side in this action or war or whatever you want to call it. So England has become the enemy on the side of Iran. The so-called special relationship between England and America is over, according to President Trump. So you have to know what President Trump is talking about. I saw his video, and he said to Starmer, we will remember what you did. That when we were having a conflict with Iran, okay, you worked against us. We will remember. President Trump said it. It was a public video. See? So there are all kinds of underlying interactions going on. People vying for power and control, and it's all about big money and power. And President Trump is looking out for this country, and it's a disgrace that the mass media is against him. Brethren, there is a civil war going on in this country, and it is a war of information. But at least the mass media everybody that knows that they're against, that they're the enemies of the nation. But all the individual people like you and me, okay, that are against President Trump, and Tucker, unless he's controlled opposition, I'm really disappointed in him. And I love Tucker. He's another one, along with Jeffrey Sachs. I love Tucker. And I love several of the things, many of the things he's done. But I don't appreciate him coming against President Trump unless he's controlled opposition. What does that mean, controlled opposition? It means that there's a civil war going on in this country, and many people are not aware that there's a civil war going on in this country. It's an irregular war, no bullets. And President Trump is the head of a coalition of patriots that are responding with irregular war to overthrow the coup. And part of what they're doing is creating chaos to wake up the American people to understand that something's wrong. That's what controlled opposition would be. So that's the story. President Trump has destroyed China's chance to wage war on us in 2017. He has saved America. Not from something happening right now, but something that is projected to happen. And not just a fantasy, but all of the information indicates, yes, it would indeed happen. He saw a threat coming. He saw the storm coming. And he's doing what needs to be done to deny China the resources that it needs to wage the war that it's waging against us. So he's letting his reputation, President Trump, is letting his reputation be sullied, okay, for the benefit of America. Someday, okay, when history is written by the victors, all of this nonsense that we're losing the war, complete nonsense, lies. There are people on the boob tube just telling outright lies. At the very least, anyone that's aware has to know there are completely opposite opinions out there. Like credible speakers on the internet giving complete opposite opinions. One saying, and one guy, this General McGregor, I have no respect for him at all. Any military, he's retired military, that would pronounce defeat on America, even if it was a mistake and he thought it was hopeless. You don't pronounce defeat while there are American lives at stake. I read this morning 150 men have been injured in this action so far, or war. And you pronounce defeat? Shame on you, Mr. McGregor. I don't even call you general or colonel or whatever your rank is. We're in a civil war. And you could find any opinion that you want, whoever you are out there. If your opinion is that we're losing the war, you'll find very credible people saying that. If you want to believe what I'm telling you or trying to explain to you, you'll find credible people telling you that. Whatever your opinion is, you will find influences to support it, if that's what you want. But that should not be what you want. You should want the truth. You should want the truth. See? Because if you're looking for information that will support your opinion, that means you're in your ego. You're not in the Christ mind. You should be listening to both sides and seeking God for the truth. Get your ego out of it. Get your ego out of it. So I'm very happy to report that my friend in Israel is flying home today. which means things must be much better if Israel opened the airports to non-governmental flights. This is not World War III, brethren. President Trump is cleaning up the mess that exists in this world because the whole government across the world, but especially the Western governments, not only are they corrupt, but apparently sunken into Satanism, pedophilia, human sacrifice, and everything else that goes with it. The Western governments of the world. And rigged elections. The corruption of the world is coming to the surface now. The powers operating in the people that agree with this corruption, that are practicing this corruption, have existed probably forever. But nobody knew about it until the internet. I mean, it was just localized. There was nothing anybody could do about it. For the average people, there's nothing anybody could do about it. And so it was kept a secret from most average people. But what's happening in the world today, the reason all of this is coming to the surface right now is a spiritual reason. It's a spiritual reason. And the spiritual reason is that the Lord Jesus Christ, who is invisible right now, he gave up his body. The body of Jesus of Nazareth died. And the soul of Jesus of Nazareth was woven together with the second Adam, or the resurrected Adam, or righteous Adam, the spiritual foundation, the warp of the garment, or the canvas of the garment upon which this whole world is painted, or the warp of the garment upon which this whole world is woven together. And he gave up his body to be, when the second Adam, the invisible foundation of the world, okay, well, the new foundation of the world. The reason there is such evil is because the foundation of the world, the warp of the garment, the canvas, is called the dragon. It's a foundation that, from a moral point of view, okay, is rebellious and incestuous. It has fallen from the perfect morality that was imparted to it when Jehovah created it. But there is a new foundation that is now present with the full intention and the power and authority to do it. To do what? To swallow up the dragon world system. Excuse me. There's a new warp of the garment. See? The Creator has decided not to wipe out the whole creation, which would include us, because the garment became moth-eaten. Adam, the creation of God, became moth-eaten and corrupted. And Jehovah decided, rather than to wipe out all of the beautiful colored threads of every wonderful thing that the soul that God created. Do you realize what we've accomplished? What the soul that God created has accomplished? Civilizations, multiple civilizations, right? History, achievements, inventions, agriculture, irrigation, incredible things. The creation is underway. So Jehovah decided not to destroy it all, but to lay another foundation, to lay a righteous foundation, a perfectly moral foundation upon the corrupt foundation. And that is expressed in the scripture as in the parable as overlaying the objects with gold. He's going to overlay the corrupt foundation with a perfectly moral foundation that will neutralize all of the corruption and swallow it up and impart morality to it.